Room Leads, Team Leads. This is video number 1 in terms of the principles that we're going to be diving into to look at what makes a well-defined leader. So if you kind of remember back to last week in the introduction video, we said that all of these videos are going to be thematic with developing a well-defined identity, and I kind of said that that was your ability to define your values and goals based on only the resources God has given you. So can you be secure in who you are? And if you can, then you will give great leadership to yourself and to others for the rest of your life. But these first 5 that we're looking at are marks of poorly defined leaders, so we will dive into the first one right now. So number 1 is your leadership is primarily about responding and not initiating. So again, this is poorly defined leaders. I'll repeat it. Your leadership is primarily about responding and not initiating. So to kind of unpack that a little bit is I wrote down 4 kind of buzz phrases. Each of these principles, by the way, is very large in its scope. So please don't hear me saying that I'm unpacking all this in the video. Most of this, the real unpacking, will be you guys spending time thinking about it on your own, in your workshops, and then discussing it with the person leading you. But a helpful word to think about is reactive. This type of person is very reactive. They're not proactive. They're always being dictated, their responses are always being dictated by the people around them, the failures and successes of life, their emotions, things like that. I have a sine curve up here written that is, these people are also ride the roller coaster of the people that they're leading. So if I'm giving leadership to somebody and they're doing well, then I feel well because I'm responding to how they're responding. If they're doing bad, I'm doing bad. You see what I'm saying? That's kind of you're riding the roller coaster of the people that you're leading. Feedback for these people is hard. They can't hear it. It's hard to hear feedback. They either get crushed or crumble, or their pride causes them to not be able to hear it. And they might be people that just only have good ideas, meaning that a lot of times people who are very reactive or respond oriented, they have these ideas that are usually could be really good for our ministry or for. It doesn't even have to be ministry related, but then they usually will end up going to the person in charge or somebody else to implement the idea, to say, hey, why don't we do this, instead of never actually doing it themselves. And so they don't initiate. One good example of this that I'll share and then I'll close is just that, a common thing that happens in our ministry within Campus Outreach is oftentimes we give leadership and discipleship on issues that are controversial, that they're not black and white. And so some of those examples could be dating, could be modesty. Those are 2 good examples of things that, for me and as staff, we have over the years kind of developed different convictions. We don't all have the same convictions, but we develop those, and hopefully, those come out in our talks, they come out in our discipleship, and people, or students who primarily respond and don't initiate, upon hearing those convictions or being taught that through discipleship, will usually become very angry. They will sometimes do things like gossip about, I can't believe that's what was said, this or that, or they'll result to blaming that they, campus outreach made me do this, or when Stefan told me his thing that it's his fault now that I'm not in a relationship, or so on and so forth. And the point in my illustration is not at all to say that I'm always right or it's Campus Outreach, we're always right. But the point is that to be a proactive or a leader who initiates is someone who can hear the other's conviction and then they go and develop their own convictions. And so maybe that person, upon hearing it, they would go read some passages in the Bible, and they would confront the leader and say, I have a disagreement about this. That looks a lot different than being the person that is blaming and gossiping. They're just responding. And so to conclude, this principle is all about your leadership is primarily about responding and not initiating. So take some time and think about, where do you do this? Complete the workshop.